Good evening. Y'all hear me okay? All right. Okay, I want to get straight into this. I'm not going to keep you guys very long. But I titled this evening's message, Consistency and Laziness. It's pretty self-explanatory. And first and foremost, I want to salute everybody that came out tonight, because I know Wednesday nights is low attendance night. Let's just call it that. So my grandfather, Pastor Dave, he asked me to speak tonight, and I was like, okay, here we go. Haven't been up here in a little while. But I got something a little short for you guys ready. First I want to talk about consistency. It ties in with each other. It really does. So first about it, think about it. Consistency. What does that mean to you? It can mean a bunch of things. How often you read your Bible, how often you get up out of your bed, how often you go to work, how often you look down at your phone, how often you're texting somebody, and you're consistent with it, right? Consistency with church, however, is more important. It's honestly more important. But here's the thing. In the world we live in now, and the hearts that we've accumulated over time don't want to be consistent in church. Overall, Christians in general, there's not like a special portion that are like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to church. I'm so excited. I'm sorry. You're not like, let's go, church. I'm going to be there on time. I'm going to be there to the last second. I'm not going to walk out until we say, amen, have a good day. Something I need to work on. And I'm the pastor's grandson. I have to be here. I mean, I want to be. If I didn't want to be, I wouldn't. Sadly, I'm a legal age of adulthood now. I can make my own decisions, quote unquote. Oh yeah, I'd like to welcome everybody online. Thank you for joining us. And I know who's consistent online too. I run that. I know who joins Sundays, Wednesdays. Believe me, I see you. And I know who is consistent. And I applaud you. You know who you are. So do I. God honors that. The people that are here tonight, God honors that. God will bless you. If you want a couple examples of consistency, Kevin Hamill and his family. Every service without fail, unless he's traveling, working, or in bed sick. He's always here. Brother David Kindig, always here. Faithful. That also ties in with consistency. Being faithful to one another, to the church. Also, I can say this, our pastors, being faithful to them, because they don't have to come every Sunday and Wednesday and preach to you guys. They don't have to. They were called by God, and they willingly do it. They don't have to do it. They could wake up and be like, no, I'm done with it. Later. You don't know how hard it is for them. Specifically, my grandfather, your pastor, Pastor Dave, wakes up every morning, usually up at 4 a.m., 3 a.m. What does he do? He hits his knees and prays for you guys. And then he gets ready for his every morning devotional at 9 a.m., except for, I think, Saturdays and Sundays? Because he's here Sundays, and Saturdays are his rest days. I don't think a lot of people, and even us, think about that. The work, the time, the effort that he puts in every day. I've said this before, but it was probably like 2 years ago, last time I was up here with you guys. Family time is zero, almost, because of the call of the ministry, because of the call of God on his life. Sundays, sometimes Mondays, vacations once a year. It's the way it is. He's not here, he's in Nashville. That's not a vacation. He's on ministry right now. He's down there working on the new album. Ministry. That's what it is. It's not a vacation. He's not here because he's doing the work of God elsewhere. That's why I'm up here. Filling in. It's pretty big shoes, honestly. I was thinking about it like, whew, man. Pressure's on. But consistency is so important. Being consistent with anything is important. Like me and my buddy Braden, one of my best friends, we're in the gym every day except for Saturdays and Sundays. And it's a consistency. I wrote on a story I posted on Instagram. It was a picture of us. It was like progress, you know. We just started back up a couple weeks ago. We were away for months. And you really see that drop off, honestly, within the first few days. And in the faith, you see a drop off within a day of inconsistency. Because like this is like big time. It's not like you're working every day, you're a high management position, you don't got to worry about making money, it's pretty much handed to you. You can take a day off, that don't matter. With this, consistency is the life of it, the heart. That's what's keeping the heart going, that's what's making the blood flow is consistency. So I've got 3 scriptures on consistency. The first is 1 Corinthians 15:58, which reads, "Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that in the Lord your labor is not in vain." Now, he didn't say knowing that your couple days of work a week is not in vain. Knowing that the couple minutes you spend a day is not in vain. Not saying the hour a week and then how long is a week? 72 something hours? 100 and something hours? I don't know. Then the 100 plus hours a week you spend doing absolutely nothing, sending your life away, maybe a little time with God. He didn't say that is not in vain. That is in vain. Be steadfast and immovable. It's a lot to take in. Immovable. Because physically that's not possible. Being immovable. Another guy pushes you over, what are you going to do? You're going to fall down. Sadly, now we've become so weak-hearted to the point of an issue will knock us down and we won't get back up. As small as an argument with your brother or your sister. But God calls you to be immovable, steadfast, always abounding in the work of the Lord, not sometimes abounding, you know? And it's hard. It's hard to be immovable, steadfast, always abounding. And abounding's a big word. Abounding's like the whole of it, not just a little bit. And now, all you guys are elders. I had to take that in like, oh boy, okay. Some things have to change now. Because in my life, I'm 18 years old. Like, I deal with a lot as a young person in 2022, good Lord. Remember yesterday, I was, 11 years old in that back corner, and Pastor Dave was up here saying, here it is, 2014. 2022. Instantly. Tomorrow you're going to wake up, it's going to be 2030. Next thing you know, your friends are dying. Next thing you know, your relatives are dying. Next thing you know, you're dying. Or the Lord's coming back. Hopefully that first before any of that. All of the above. Don't you wish it was a multiple choice thing? It's not. It's not a school equation. What's 5 times 3? 10, 15, 20, or 80? Or all of the above? It's obviously 15. There's a set answer and a set date that we don't know. When is the Lord coming back? Could be right now. Flash of blink of an eye. Flash of light, faster than that even. Wouldn't get halfway through a blink, and then boom, there's God. You would have no time to think, no time to be like, I got it right. No. You got to get stuff right. It's not going to happen. The only way that's going to happen is a consistency right now. An unmovableness now. Always abounding right now. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you got to be perfect or you're going to hell. I'm sorry, that God didn't say that. I'll skip to James 1:4 for that sentence, which says, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. That's what I mean. We're not perfect, but God's steadfastness through us makes us perfect. Us as humans are not perfect. Ever since the sin in the garden happened, the timer started ticking. The clock started moving. At first, they were supposed to live forever. Believe it or not, earth was glory. That was God's wow. I don't know how, we don't have a time frame of how long it took for that sin to enter in, but it was as soon as the bite was taken, there was no turning back from that. Here we are now, around 6,000 plus years later, in total sin. And the world's only gotten worse over time, It's like you can't shoot someone. I'm sorry, online, for the graphicness of this. You can't shoot someone and then expect the hole to just stop bleeding or close itself, It's not going to happen. There are people in this church, not here now, of course, because they're working. I know that they are. I don't know where Brother Pete is. He might be running security. He knows. He's a cop. You shoot someone, you don't take care of it, they'll bleed out and die. The world got shot, nobody's taking care of it, it's bleeding out and dying, and now you can't take care of it. There was no taking care of it after the first sin was committed. It was like, boom, see you later. And that was us. But thank God for mercy, right? God saw fit eventually in his perfect timing to send his son. Talk about this a lot. I don't know why it's always this, but I just feel God bring me to it every time I speak to anybody. God sent his son to die. I want you to think about the word die for a second before I go any further, because a lot of people, they don't think about that. They're like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, great. I'm so happy about that. for me. Good for me. God's got feelings too. His heart can be broken, and his heart can be filled with joy. When God sent his son to die, I don't think he was happy about it. I don't think he was happy that it came to that because of us, because of some stupid decision that we made. Yeah, it was all in his plan. I think if he had if he could have made it different, he wouldn't. I don't think God wanted that to happen, But he gave people free will. And he was driven to that decision. Because God's a righteous God. He's not just going to let something slip. He's going to make the hard decision. Sadly, he had to. But, that to say this, Jesus came and died. Dead. Worst death probably recorded in history. Ever. I don't care about your stinking medieval torture devices or cutting you in half. I'm sorry, they put blades and teeth and glass on a whip, 9 tails, and constantly over and over again till there was nothing left of his skin, pretty much. His face, his chest, digging in and ripping pieces of him apart. I don't doubt there were bones showing. And then great, he has to carry across during that. Hold up a second, that is physically not possible. I don't know how a lot of people back then watching that didn't understand that, wait a minute, what's going on? He just had this done to him, and now he's carrying a only God knows how heavy cross to where he's about to be nailed to it and die. Put a crown of thorns on his head, big ones, like big thorns, into his head. Then they laid him down on a cross, nails like stakes, right? A lot of people say that they put him right here. I'm sorry, no. They would rip through your hand. In the part where it hurts the most, where the tendons are in your hand, a lot of people will tell you when stuff goes wrong there, it's like lightning, lava in your hand. They drove it through there, in your wrist, in between the bone, where it'll hold you up, and then one in between his feet, and let him hang there. This thing is not wanting to cooperate. See? Inconsistency. Come on. But yeah, that happened. God sent Jesus to die so that we could be forgiven, so that we could come to this consistency. It's an everyday thing. It's not a Sunday, Wednesday thing. It's not a sometimes at 9 a.m. in the morning, 10 minutes later, he's saying amen, have a great day, kind of thing. And then you're done. You're like, okay, I'm good. Got my grace for today. Bye, I'm going to go drink. Going to go be sexually inappropriate with minors. Going to go do all that stuff. Could list a lot. Probably get kicked off of Facebook. Surprisingly. It's not an every couple days a week, couple minutes a day thing. It's an everyday thing. From the moment you wake up, your feet hit the ground, there's got to be something there. It can't just be like, okay, we're awake now. What are we going to do? See you later, God. Bye. I'll see you Sunday. See you Wednesday. See you at 9 a.m. And then the rest of your day goes by and there's nothing there. I had a problem with that for a long time. You know where that went? Straight down and back. It wasn't just a pitfall. I fell and went back like this. For you guys, this is forward, going up. Just so you understand. Going up, stopped consistency, and for a little while in my own life, didn't care. I had no, wanting for anything. And this is, of course, when I was younger. A couple of years ago, I was going through a lot. Up, straight down, backwards. And there's no just sorry and then you're back there. You come to this point, you drop, you go back, you're there. Stuck now. There's no, God, I'm sorry. Because believe me, if God wasn't patient, you'd already be dead. Every one of you. And me included. And all you guys online, I know a lot of you are going to see this throughout the week. I'm not playing around. I'm not joking with you. It's true. You'd all be dead if God was impatient. If I was God, I would have already gotten to hear with how many sorries I've had to hear. Forgive me, God. I feel bad almost saying sorry to God now because I don't deserve to be forgiven anymore. Everybody. And think about it, really. Take some time to think about how many times you're saying sorry to God and how many things you are this close to having, and then because you need to say that sorry, it has to be pushed further into the future or taken away completely. Guarantee in everybody's lives here, there was something that was supposed to happen sooner or ultimately happen that happened later or never happened. Because of the, I'm sorry again. And you come to that, I'm sorry again, because you did something wrong. You did something dumb. You made the decision to then sin or get in something completely unholy. But, like I said, God gave us Jesus so that he could take upon the sins of the world, which means you guys and everybody else, so that we may be forgiven and not die that horrible death, then ultimately hell and torture forever, and then in a complete obliteration from time. I think about that sometimes, like hell. The world's turned it into a bad word, but it's a place. I'm not saying go out and say that word as an expletive, but it's true. It's been turned into an expletive, but it's misappropriated now because it is actually a place of eternal torment. The ultimate polar opposite of all that is good and holy in heaven is hell. In heaven, I can't even explain it to you. You can't even think about it. You can think about it and be like, oh, it's going to be so great. It's going to be so great. You can think about it. But all the things you love to do and all that, like when you're at your highest moment, you feel like I'm always going to be there. It's more than that even. Then there's hell. Yeah, think about it. Because it's an actual place. We're not joking around when we're talking to you. It's not a fear factor. It's not like, be afraid of this because it's going to happen to you if you don't straighten up. We're telling you because it's actually real. It's not something that we're making up or faking or drawing a picture of so that you're like, oh, I better get my life right. Well, you better get your life right regardless, but that's the ultimate end game of that. Some people are predestined for hell, like they're born into it. Nothing can change it. That's just the way they are. But everybody here, believe me, you've got a choice. Thankfully, God gave us that choice, He gave us that. It's up to us now, sadly, to make the right choice or make the wrong choice. Unimaginable eternal torment or an unimaginable eternal joy. Crazy. I'm saying a lot. Wow, okay. But yeah, consistency. God made it to where we have that through his son dying so that we can be forgiven, just summing up, so that we can come to that place of repentance and then forgiveness, because he's not going to not forgive you unless he did something to shut his ear to you. And that's also possible. I don't know if you know that, but God can completely ignore you and not hear what you're saying. He won't hear your prayers. He won't. You can get to that point. That's why I'm always, when I think about it, I'm like, the ignorance of some people, most people, to think that you can just sin your life away, do this. Even the most minute thing you'll be walking straight, totally cool, look at something wrong, boom. It's the same, it's a sin. There's no major and minor offense with God. It's all sin unless you do something that God ultimately hates. Six things God hates, a seventh thing he despises. You've heard that so many times from Pastor Dave. You have. Hope you guys understand that. But finally, for consistency, I've got Galatians 6:9. And this ties into sin. And let us not grow weary of doing good. And now for the consistency of it. For in due season we will reap if we do not give up. I'm pretty sure that's, yeah. Yep. And that's consistency. Because you made a decision to hand your life over to God. And be like, I accept you. You made that decision now. Now comes the consistency. It's going to take a long time. Sometimes God will give instant results. Sometimes God's like, just walk with me for a little while. See what starts to happen. For in due season we will reap. Not as soon as you say, God, come into my heart, we will reap. If you do not give up. Consistency, It's pretty much what it's about. Faithfulness to the call of God. You might not be called to do what I'm doing right now, preaching to people. You might not be called to that. God might call you to something else. God could call you to something completely other than ministry. But we are to be a light. And consistency makes it brighter. People will start to see change in consistency. If you're there every couple weeks or once a week, the light's going to go dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. You'll have a bum facial expression. You won't be happy. You'll be negative in public. You'll have a totally terrible social experience every time you go to the grocery store with the cashier. It makes a difference if you're being consistent. I've seen it. When I'm with my grandfather, because his consistency is insane. You see what God's done for him? I can brag about my grandfather. I can. He's an extremely humble person, so he doesn't brag about himself. Notes. His consistency far surpasses most people's, including us. Because he's every day with it, every minute with it. I look at it, and I'm like, how? How can a person have such self-control to completely almost forget that temptation exists and only realize that there's a God and the ultimate goal? It's mind-boggling. And I see it everywhere. Everywhere we go, it's always Jesus. It's not anything else. Always. Even in the fun times when we're being crazy at home, family time, there's always Jesus. It's never an underlying factor. It's never something in the background. It's always straight up front. This first, then the exciting stuff. Let's go get ice cream. It's not like, come on kids, let's go get ice cream, and then we'll come back and we'll think about Jesus for a little while. You know, it's not that. It's always straight up front. All right. Consistency. It's important. Next is laziness, the complete and polar opposite of consistency. What does laziness bring about? Laziness brings uncontentment, because you're never content with what you have, because guess what? You're never getting anything. You're never getting anywhere. And laziness is not only, I'm not going to get up, I don't want to go to work, I don't want to read the Bible, I don't want to wash my hands, I don't want to clean myself. That's not all laziness is. You could be totally cool, happy, get up, I'm going to work today, I'm going to wash my hands today, I'm going to feel good. Even in that is laziness. In that can be laziness. Laziness with the Word, laziness with God. And also, you could have a great attitude, but if that attitude's not derived from God and through His Word, it's laziness. There are so many things that are lazy. It could be in your personal life. It could be, I don't want to wake up, I don't want to go to work, but I understand that. Believe me, I get tired too. I don't want to wake up sometimes too. But here the consistency comes again. It has to happen for something to happen. Proverbs 13:4. The soul of the sluggard gets nothing. What is a sluggard? The ultimate laziness. Pretty much, I don't want anything to do with anybody. I don't want to get up. I don't want to go to work. I don't want nothing to do with God. I don't want to read the Bible. Anything you could think of that's lazy, that's a sluggard. The soul of the sluggard gets nothing. Wow. There is a, oh, here we go, it's getting better side to this. While the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. And in diligence is consistency and faithfulness. They're the exact opposites of each other. And they have the exact opposite effects. One will get you places, one won't let you move. It'll pull you back even. And having a lazy spirit will also take away blessing that God already gave you. It's not like nothing's going to happen because you're sitting still. Because God doesn't like laziness. I know from personal experience that things can be taken away. Big things. Life can be taken away. Possessions can be taken away. Happiness can be taken away. Family can be taken away. Your job can be taken away. And ultimately, and worst of all, heaven can be taken away from you if you're lazy. Look it up. God speaks heavily against a lot of things, and laziness is one of them. But that's not the end of the story. Because God, being the gracious God He is, gave us the opposite. It's not like, this is how you guys are, this is what's going to happen, I'm sorry, but this is the way I did it. No. God said, this is how most of you already are, but this is what you can be. And the next verse I've got for laziness is James 1:22, which is the but in this story. But be doers of the word, and not hearers only. Having a lazy spirit also means that you're only listening to what's going on and you're not receiving it, which this one and the next verse ties into also something that I want to refresh you guys on by way of reminder. When I'm up here sometimes, it's rare, or my dad, or Dave, or Pete, or my grandfather, we're not talking to a camera. We're not talking to the people listening online. We're here with you guys. First and foremost, ultimately, because that could shut down, but you guys are still here. Who are we going to be talking to when that is done? It's you guys. And me, I'm very observant of people. I can tell when you're listening, but you're not receiving. When you're hearing and brushing it off. Just want to remind you guys that we're not talking to invisible entities or to a camera. What we're speaking and what we worked hard to prepare for is for you. And it is only because we love you guys. When we got to bring something hard, it's in love. For the ultimate renewal of your soul. When we are happy, it's because we love you guys. Because we want you to feel great. And I've seen so many fickle people. They come in, they hear something they don't like, they leave. I've always looked at it and told my grandfather, I said, God always cuts out what He doesn't want there. I've seen people I liked turn dark and ugly inside, not outside. They could act totally cool, but something changed. And it's a laziness to receive. That's what will ultimately get you in the most trouble, is a laziness to receive and only hear what's going on. It says it right here. But be doers of the word and not hearers only. Being doers also means receive, apply it, live it. Not just step-by-step robotic, what's in the word, do this, do that. I mean, yes, do that. Do what it says, but be doers of the word and not only hearers. Deceiving yourselves. 2 Thessalonians 3:11 through 12 says, "For we hear that some among you walk in idleness," and this is that unwillingness to receive. You're hearing, but you're not understanding, and you don't want to. There's a pride. That's what that is. That idleness is a pride. Not the good pride, bad pride. Saying, he's not talking to me, I'm just here. I'm just going to sit through it. I'm going to, amen, clap my hands a little bit. Good on for the people that need to hear it. I'm sorry, what? We don't come up here speaking to a certain majority of people that are here. Everybody that is currently in the building, when something is being said, it's being straight, it's being directed towards you, not a single person or a majority. The people that say they don't need to hear it, or I'm glad it's being said for the people that need to hear it, you need to hear it more than the person that needs to hear it. You do. I've come to a point in my life where everything he says, I look at myself and I'm like, am I doing that? Can I be better in this in some certain way? I take everything that, listen to me, God says through us, not us, that God says, I take it and I fine-tooth comb it. And I'm like, what can I take from this? Because in our sinful nature, I am lacking big time. So everything that he says, I do not take it with a grain of rice. And I encourage you to do the same. Listen to it. Write it or type it down and read it again. Look at every word. Think about where that applies to you. Because it does somewhere. Nothing we says doesn't apply to everybody. Nothing he says doesn't apply to everybody. It does. He doesn't come up here, like I said, again, with a perfectly handcrafted word for a minority. It's for everybody over here. Oh man, now I see why he likes this corner. This is nice. Oh. Camera guy doesn't like it though. And everybody over here. And everybody out there in Facebook world and YouTube world, even though nobody watches on YouTube, I know there's like one person maybe that watches on YouTube. Thank you, because what we're doing isn't meaningless. If one should be saved, it was worth it. Everything we say has something to do with you. And anytime you feel that, that's the flesh. That's what that is. You should in that moment be like, oh my God. What have I come to be like that? King David was smart. He said, search me out. Show me sin that I don't know exists, pretty much. I'm paraphrasing. Show me the wrong. Bring out the ugliness and lay it before me so that I can sit and look at it and realize what I'm doing to myself that I don't even know I'm doing. Sin isn't only something you know you're doing. You could have no idea what you're doing is wrong. Believe me, God was pretty smart with what went in the Bible and what didn't, and he put that one there for that reason. Search me out. See if there is any laziness within me, a lack of consistency, a pride that makes me a hearer only and not a doer, deceiving myself. And not knowing it. You wonder why something's not going your way. You wonder why something that you want is not happened yet. You wonder why it's the constant no, wait, stuck. Ask God that. Search me out. Lay before mine eyes what I don't see, so that you can ultimately see it. Okay. But to wrap up, you want consistency. Consistency is important, but it's also very difficult. And through that difficultness could come in laziness. And if you become lazy, you better start doing something to turn that around. If you feel it a little bit, just a tiny little bit, believe me, you want to get that turned around, because it will end in nothing good. I know. I speak from experience. Consistency brings around the best of things, and laziness just rips it away. I'm not ignorant to what I'm saying. I speak through experience, just so you know. I'm not just spitting words out. I'm also telling you this because I want you guys to do good. I want you to be the happiest you can be. And that comes through consistency, faithfulness to the Word of God and to the church. That's a big thing with consistency, is the church. A lot of people with this cultist style of quote-unquote Christianity. I don't have to go to church. My body is the temple of God. You need to be smacked if you think that. All those people need to be smacked. Read the Bible again. I don't think God would have had people break their backs and almost die to build churches if it wasn't important. So being faithful and consistent to the church and the people therein, the brethren, the congregation, who, by the way, could fall if you're not there. Being together is good. That's why God said 2 by 2 and not go have fun by yourself. I talk to the youth about this a lot because it's something that the youth need to hear every time a word is brought. 2 by 2, because when you fall, the other is there to pick you up. Vice versa. So don't worry, I'm going to close now so you can go home and go to sleep. I understand. Just take into consideration what I'm saying. Because when I thought, what am I going to talk about? God was like, consistency, laziness. That's what I heard. I was like, okay. It's heavy. I could have been way more heavier, but I like you guys. I want you to stick around. But I will be heavy to the point that I'm trying to be soft with you guys as much as I can. I know, and Pastor Dave does the same thing. He's heavy when he needs to be because God's like, this is what's going to happen. It just happens. It's not because he doesn't like you guys. He wants you to stay. He doesn't want you to leave. It's your pride that makes you leave. It's like, oh. The amount of pride you'd have to leave something so good. Because you're never going to find anything as good anywhere else. You're only going to find the world's pleasures, and those are bad. They're not good. Here is good. Here is home. You can be comfortable here. Everybody here loves you guys. Speaking to every one of you individually, take that. Everybody loves you guys that is here. Doesn't matter backgrounds. Doesn't matter color. Doesn't matter race. Doesn't matter accent. Doesn't matter if you're tall, short, fat, or anorexic. You could have brown eyes. You could have purple eyes. Nobody's going to judge you because everybody here loves you. First and foremost, our pastors. Remember that next time pride sets in, like, he was talking to me. He was talking to you. If you have a problem with that, you better take it up with God, not Pastor Dave. God said it. He's just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. Ever hear that one? A lot of Christians shoot the messenger. And then they end up in churches with, I don't remember the names, but these evil, demonic, demon-infested pastors. If I'd give you the names, I would. If you can only see, I've watched it a couple times. You just, not only you see it, but you feel it. Even just seeing it through a phone, you're like, wow, okay. I don't want to see that anymore. It's demonic. Just saying, if you leave, that's what you subject yourself to. I'm not saying that my grandfather and this church is not the only church that's a good church, because there's a lot of them. I've met a lot of very, 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 very cool pastors with great churches that are speaking a great word. Almost the same with what we're speaking. I'm not saying that we're the only one. But I'm saying if you leave one pridefully, one of the few real churches in America or anywhere, if you leave that, something will happen to you. The pride will increase. Your life will go downhill. And what next? Where are you going to go after that? Lenny was just telling me a story the other day. We were in the thrift store working. Some whack job came in the store years ago. It was like this, that, and the other, being all disgusting about it. I'm not going to go into detail. Needless to say, because he was that way towards the church, and that pride within you is towards the church and towards God, I'd be scared. A couple of years go by. Guess what happened? Because he called something out and made accusations and then went to a higher power to get something done. His wife left him. He lost everything. He used to be working with the government. He lost it all. All his money, his wife, I don't know of any kids, his home. He was dressed in pretty much rags. That's what will happen if you let your pride bring you to the point of coming against this, him. God does not play around. Like I said, there's no minor or major offense in sin. It's sin. As much as going to somebody because you're being dumb and not thinking, making something happen that's not supposed to happen through pride, can make you lose everything. How much more in other things? You know, you gotta think about that. But there's grace. It's not all grace. God's got a heaviness to him, believe me. But there is a grace. It's not all grace, but there is grace. Okay? Let's stand.